think what we're going to do is, hi Tessa.
Hi.
I think Tessa's going to actually manage the slides.
Yes. And I do have a share screen button, so I think we are all set.
All good. And then Cleveland will do the little poll.
Yes.
And I'm thinking if Frank may jump on here, at least he did the last time, jump on just a little early so he's clear about what's happening. All he has to do is say hi to everybody and turn it over.
Okay, perfect.
Curious to see if we have any of our special invited guests join us.
Oh, yeah, I was going to ask you about that. Do you know?
You know, let me just see if I can see if anybody accepted the invite. Liz declined, Liz Concordia. I'm not sure if I see other names here. Oh, wait a second, Chancellor, he didn't respond. So, and Dean Riley hasn't responded. So who knows? Now there is, I'm not exactly sure her role, but Ann Fulbrigi, she's a tentative. So I guess time will tell.
Yes. We weren't expecting any of them to attend anyways.
I know. So would have been kind of a surprise.
Yeah.
Just
yes.
Sometimes we're pleasantly surprised.
Yeah.
Yes.
How are you both doing? I mean, this must be kind of crazier times for you than some.
I think we've all been, our whole team is, it's kind of been a roller coaster of emotions. And last night, actually, I don't want to get into it too much because I need to keep my composure for this presentation, but I just started thinking like we've been focusing on this so much that it's kind of been a distraction from things ending. And so, yeah, we'll see. I might be at just a huge mess right after this meeting ends, and that's okay.
Hey, Jamil.
Hello.
There he is.
Just a sec.
I know, I can't, this last couple, 3 months have just been insane on so many levels, and certainly the last 2 or 3 weeks have been even more so. And
Absolutely.
Boy, I feel somewhat hopeful that things are, there are going to be things that will be different and better. And even more quickly than I anticipated, you know. I mean, I'm furloughed as of July 1, but nothing compared to you folks. And you know, even probably Jamil's heard me say this. I mean, I'm old enough that technically I could be retired now, but you know, there's still so many things to work on and some great projects out there that we are just kind of starting to get going. And so I'm not ready, you know, to throw in the towel. So I guess I just want to be hopeful across the board that something, you know, we turn over one more rock and, oh, wow, okay, this can work now.
Mm-hmm.
But,
Yeah.
but I don't know.
Yeah. Hey, Linda.
Hey, Jamil. It's not that I can't show you my home, which is why I'm sitting in a garden, but you know, I just have such it's like my TV/work room, and my windows are behind the computer screens, and my wall back here is kind of a dark, I mean, it tends to just be dark in this corner. So I thought, you know, I'm just gonna
That's very pretty.
Yes.
Make it
Yeah.
brighter.
Yeah, it's a beautiful backdrop.
Oh, it's just some flowers I took photos of when I went on one of my walks, and so makes me happier.
It's good.
What do you drink? What are you drinking there?
Oh, it's only iced tea. So. Nothing too
Too early? Too early?
too early. But
Yeah,
I
we
still
should be
needed the caffeine.
doing this over happy hour, right?
Right?
All right.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm gonna log off real quick and make sure that I forgot to put my dog away.
Okay.
Okay,
I'm going to be right back as well.
okay. Well, I didn't, Tessa kind of walked me through the poll thing. That's such an easy thing to do. I had no idea it was so easy. So that was a new thing I learned yesterday.
Yes, I really like Zoom. It's very user-friendly.
It really is. It really is. And I've just never really clicked through the possibilities. And so Tessa said, just do this and this and this. And sure enough, I mean, I hope it works. I hope it works fine. I think it should.
I'm
And
sure.
Cheryl.
Hey.
There's her voice. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm okay. Just haven't seen you forever and ever and ever.
I know. I don't like that.
I know. I don't either. I don't either.
Yeah, I still haven't forgotten. We're going to do a lunch at some point.
I know. You know, eventually, I don't know. I don't know if we'll ever return to any kind of normal that makes sense. But, you know, David said at one point, because I was a huge proponent of not working from home. I was not a fan, mainly because I just am a people person. I like sitting at the table and hashing out problems with my team. And because he always kept trying to talk me into working from home because we needed office space, right? And I said, no, no, no. And then I've been working from home and I haven't hated it like I thought I would. But I mean, I kind of like the flexibility. If I feel like I want to go outside, I can. If I want to open my windows, I can. And then you don't have the commute, you don't have the parking hassle. It's just easier.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely a better way of life. Yeah.
I mean, Zoom at least helps you feel connected, even though it's still not my preference. It's better than nothing, right? So.
Yeah, exactly. No, I hear you there. Yeah. How are the presenters doing?
We're doing. I think we'll, you know, get another practice run through this morning. So.
No.
Good to go. As good as it's gonna get, right?
That's right.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. And hey, Jamil.
Hey, Cheryl.
Hey, good to see you.
Good to see you too. How you doing?
Are you on a computer or are you on your phone?
I'm on my phone.
Okay, that's what I thought. I was just like, yeah, you don't get this
Interesting.
kind of shot, like wide angle shot with a with your
Oh,
top.
that's pretty good. I didn't know if you could make a phone work like that. That's good.
Yeah.
Is everyone wearing makeup but me?
Do I
What?
Makeup, yeah, everybody but you.
It's like the first time in months. So.
Right.
Enough on it.
And so Tess, I'm ready to launch the poll when you are. You can just sort of let me know. But you also can click on the polls at the bottom just to see, just in case something doesn't happen technologically. But it should be fine.
This looks good. And actually Mariana is going to say, so let's get started, and mention that we have a poll, and that's when you will be up.
Great. So she'll say we have a poll and I will launch it. Excellent.
Yep. Thank you.
Dummy proof. I'm going to eat now.
Okay. Yeah. Ciao.
Hi, Hill. You're on mute. There you go.
Yeah, I was on mute.
There you
Hi,
go.
Linda. How are you?
I'm well, and are you still in Florida?
Yes, indeed, with a fake background.
A fake background, okay. And there's Jane. Wow. We're going to have a full house today.
Oh, that would be nice.
You probably don't know the folks so well from the community campus partnership, but I'm guessing you guys are going to maybe reintroduce yourselves as you begin your sessions, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yep.
Unfortunately, we've been removed from direct participation for a very long time, so we're way out of date on knowing people.
Well,
Feel badly about that, but trying to reconnect a little virtually.
sounds great.
How is the weather out there in Florida?
It's mostly
Hot and muggy.
hot and muggy, and we've been on, until today, on the edge of a tropical storm that was in the Gulf of Mexico and affecting the west coast of Florida more than the east coast, but we had steady overcast and a lot of rain for several days. And it's not
11
clearing
inches
up.
one day.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's torrential. And they're predicting more hurricanes this season. And if we lose our electricity on top of having to
Wowza.
shelter in place, this,
Oh,
That will not be good.
no.
You know, in the heat, losing air conditioning is really a punishment.
yeah.
Yeah, that'd be terrible.
And Wi-Fi, of course.
Of course.
What is the weather like there today?
It's quite lovely.
Oh,
You know, the rain and the wind, I guess it was called a derecho. It really did kind of cool things down a bit. I think it's going to warm up again, but it's been very pleasant.
oh, nice. I saw that Trail Ridge was closing, maybe a little storm.
Yes, there was snow up there, quite a bit, I think, yesterday.
Mm. I'd like that.
Yes, I bet. After your hot mugginess.
Well, we'll keep our fingers crossed and prayers with you guys out there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I think we'll wait a few more minutes here. Oh, there's Frank. Frank with the long hair.
Gonna have
So
a
Frank, I
ponytail.
think you know we have the CCP folks who are going to mostly manage this call. So all you have to do is say hi and turn it over.
Hey, Frank.
Hey,
How you doing there?
fine.
Short and sweet.
Yeah.
Like the hair there, Frank.
I know.
Back to the 60s.
We're waiting for your ponytail.
I can actually get a ponytail in it.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Well, we have a good amount of folks who've jumped on, but maybe we'll give it 2 more minutes and then open it up.
Okay. I presume Robert McGranahan is going to be the MC of this event. Am I correct in that?
No,
Okay. To whom should I? Mariana?
Mariana.
Yes, sir.
Got it. Can't think of a better person to hand the baton to.
Thank you, Frank.
Wait a couple more minutes. People still seem to be adding. Linda, I have a message from Jeff Kane asking that you please send him the Zoom link.
Okay, Jeff, here we go.
Lisa.
Done.
Okay. The numbers are still climbing pretty fast, so I'm going to give it another minute.
This might just be the biggest DFM monthly meeting ever. We're going to break a record.
Well, I can't think of a better occasion.
I agree. And there's Tillman Farley. I haven't seen him forever.
Hi, Jeff. I see that you made it.
Thanks. Challenging finding Zoom addresses.
Okay, we have more people here than I have years on my bones. So I'm going to take that to mean we should go ahead and get started. Welcome to the June Department of Family Medicine meeting. I'm pleased to see you and witness you all here. Notwithstanding that we have to meet by Zoom, it looks like we're meeting nonetheless. I wish I had thought to bring my blue Vibratone banger with me when I left the campus 3 months ago, but I didn't. So you don't get to hear that beautiful note that generally opens our meetings. I only have one small thing to say, and then I'm going to turn the floor over to Mariana, who will take us through a presentation about the Community Campus Partnership. And that addition to this meeting was planned at a time in the middle of our COVID-19 crisis, after we had learned that the Community Campus Partnership had been defunded and we're trying to think our way through what's next. How do we come to terms with this, and what should our next moves be? But it was before we found ourselves marching in the streets in protest against the flagrant exhibitions of racism that we have most recently seen. And I want to tag that piece into the theme that we're going to be talking about today in one small way. Mariana et al. May get to this, may deal with this, but I cannot let it go unsaid that our efforts at achieving health, equity, and inclusivity and justice, which I think one of the most beautiful and colorful forms that takes in our department is what we call the Justice League. The Justice League has been an initiative for the purpose of achieving racial, gender, ethnic justice and health equity and inclusivity for our campus and within our department. Probably among the most active and effective members of the Justice League in the department have been the members of the Community Campus Partnership. And so one dimension of this that I'm concerned about, apart and beyond all of the other elements having to do with our connections with the community, have to do with the potential loss of Robert and Mariana and Gabriela and Cheryl and Lisa and Jamal and Tessa to our Justice League. I hope that doesn't happen. I think it will. I want you to know that you are as welcome as you've ever been as members of our department in good standing. You're still a member of our department and you still have a place in my conscience and in my heart. And I hope our efforts at achieving justice and equity are not further compromised by this. I just wanted to put that out there. Apart from that, this hour plus is devoted to thinking through the community campus partnerships and our departments and our institutions' relationship with the campus, with the community around our campus. And I'm going to put myself on mute and let Mariana have the floor to say whatever she wants about all of this. Mariana, it's yours.
Thank you, Frank, and thank you for touching on such important issues. Hello, everybody. My name is Mariana Ledesma Morosi, and I've had the privilege to serve as the Associate Director for the Community Campus Partnership. Frank, the Community Campus Partnership would like to thank you and the whole Department of Family Medicine for all of your support throughout the years, for your time invested in us, and for allowing us to be and to grow. Thank you all for the opportunity again to share some of the CCP's perspectives and experiences related to our work. The title, as you've heard of this presentation, is Transforming Community Health. We encourage you to use the chat function if you have any questions or comments, and we will try to address those at the end. If you don't have time, if we don't have time, we will make sure to follow up with you. So as you now know, due to the financial crisis brought on by COVID, our program is closing. Perhaps we didn't make a strong enough case to those who control the money as to why the work that we did is vital to the community and to impact in social change. Unfortunately, programs like ours that tend to primarily benefit people of color are the first to go when budget decisions have to be made. And sadly, decisions like this contribute to the perpetuation of racism in our systems. The objectives of this presentation is to review some information about Aurora and what makes this community so special. Additionally, we'll explore the value and power of relationships, and we will share how the work that we had the privilege to do not only transforms community health by addressing 3 social determinants of health: education, economic stability, in this case through employment, and community and social context, which includes things like social integration, support systems, community engagement, discrimination, and stress. And also how it's transformed the members of the CCP over the past 7 years. I truly hope that some of the things said in this presentation will resonate with some of you and inspire you to continue community engagement work in a meaningful and mutually beneficial way. You will be hearing from some of my colleagues, a couple of my colleagues today, and I want to acknowledge the rest of the Community Campus Partnerships team. This presentation, like everything else we did, was a team effort. All right, so let's get started. Aurora, traditionally referred to as a suburb of Denver, is anything but that. As of 2014, the population was over 350,000 people. The campus, as you know, is located in North Aurora, or also referred to as Original Aurora, which is the oldest area of town, with a population of over 125,000 people living in 3 zip codes. It is home to over 1,000 businesses, and it was largely known to be a neighborhood of retired families until 1995. So let's get started with testing a little bit of your knowledge about Aurora. We have a poll. It's very quick and simple. So let's give you a minute to answer it. All right, we have 3 questions. Are we still on the first one?
Yes, it looks like we're still in the first one.
They're all up, so.
They were all up, so it's been closed?
Yep.
Thank you so much. All right, so let's go through the answers. As you probably knew already, 160 languages are spoken in Aurora Public Schools, which is a great asset. 20% of foreign-born people in our population. And the answer for number 3 was all of the above. That's correct. Family-owned restaurants, mobile home parks, motels, and individually owned businesses had to be turned down in order for the campus to be built. Let's also review some of the disparities of Aurora. This map shows 5-year estimates for unemployment rates from 2010 to 2014. The census tracts with the highest percentages of unemployment between 11 to 19% are located just to the east of I-225 and near the northern stretch of Havana Street. The eastern and southeastern areas of the city have the lower levels of unemployment, which interestingly, as you know, and as you can see, if you focus on the upper left of this map, is where the campus is situated. Please excuse me. Now let's look at the following map, which addresses median household income. Aurora median household income is generally lower in the northeast, higher in the east and southeast. The lowest income census tracts, again, are located just north of Colfax in the northwest area of the city, with the highest in southeast Aurora near Thailand's Ridge subdivision, if you're familiar with it. This shows educational attainment by race and sex, and by Hispanic or Latino. Those who hold a bachelor, graduate, or professional degree primarily reside in the Southwest Aurora, by Cherry Creek State Park, or not surprisingly, are on the Anschutz campus. Why non-Hispanics have the highest number of degree overall? The distribution of degrees across each racial group varies considerably. Of note is the high difference between Hispanic and Latino students who have not completed high school versus educational attainment across racial categories compared to males. Now, you may have already known that Aurora has the highest unemployment, lowest income, and lowest educational attainment rates in the city. What we need to remember is that Aurora is very special. Why, you may still ask? its people. Aurora's diversity index is 86%, with large and growing numbers of immigrants and refugees, from 1,200 to 1,800 arriving annually. As you now know, more than 160 languages are spoken in the schools, which again, is a great asset. I'd like to take a moment now to share a little bit about my personal story, my experience with this community, and why I think this community is so special. My first professional job after moving to this country 22 years ago was working as a liaison for the city of Aurora. My job was to inform the new influx of immigrants about the city codes and regulations. I lived in an apartment complex on 6th and Potomac. I got to know this community pretty well because it was my community. I worked and lived here. I became very familiar with the many nonprofit organizations that I now have the pleasure to work with, because many times I was in the receiving end of their services. When the campus was being built, people were displaced, and still my neighbors and the community in general were optimistic. They had high hopes and dreams for a better future with the arrival of the campus. Businesses along Colfax were strongly encouraged by the city to keep their businesses clean. It was actually part of my job to go into the storefront businesses along Colfax with a police officer and encourage the owners of such businesses to comply. Those benefits and high hopes didn't get realized. 11 years ago, I started working at the university. It was full circle for me. I thought that maybe then I could do something to help deliver on those hopes and dreams. Please excuse me. But it was 7 years ago when the CCP started. At that moment, the opportunity, the privilege came true for me. I've never forgotten about my neighbors, about the business owners, about the churchgoers and the parents at the schools, those who hoped for a better future with the arrival of the medical campus. Businesses were ready to provide services. People were ready to be employed. And residents were ready to work and partner with the medical campus. The approach of the CCP was very simple. We listened. We took into consideration and looked at not only deficits and needs, like we tend to do many times, but mostly at the assets, talents, and gifts of this community. That is how the work focused on diversity, equity, and inclusion. Over the past 7 years, we took down the invisible fence around the campus and built bridges and mutually beneficial partnerships. Through a participatory asset-based community development approach, we learned that the first priority was employment opportunities on the campus. And that was nothing new. As I mentioned to you earlier, this is something that the community had hoped for since the community was being built. One of the CCP's many commitments to the community was to remain responsive to their priorities. So we started the Hire Local program, which my colleague Jamil will tell you just about it in just a second. The second priority identified was education. And my colleague Tessa Carlson will tell you more about it after Jamil. Jamil?
Thank you, Mariana. Hello, everyone. My name is Jamil Mallory, and I'm the Higher Local Program Manager with the Community Campus Partnership. I want to first start by thanking Cleveland and Dionysia with the Justice League for suggesting that we do this presentation, and also to thank you all for taking time out of your busy schedules to attend this meeting. As you heard Mariana mention earlier, the Aurora community identified employment as one of its top priorities. And our team had the privilege of working with the community residents to develop a Higher Local program. They simply wanted a place to go where they could talk to people about employment opportunities at the medical campus. They also wanted to understand why they weren't contacted after they applied for jobs on campus. So, with the help of my colleague Lisa Jensen, we collaborated with the human resources staff at the hospitals and the university to identify barriers to employment for Aurora residents. During our conversations with the campus employers, we discovered that the staff had a desire to see more people hired that reflected the demographics of the community and the patient population. We then worked together to develop an application process that increased the chances for residents to get interviews. In early 2017, we opened the doors to what we affectionately call the Job Hub, which is our office in the community located just across the street from campus in the Hoffman Heights Library. In the Job Hub, Lisa and I met with residents to work on resumes, help them complete job applications, and to practice for interviews. In addition, we provided job coaching, offered moral support, and provided access to social services resources. Since 2017, we provided services to over 500 clients, and to date, more than 160 of those individuals have gotten hired, most of which were either on Medicaid or didn't have healthcare insurance prior to working with our program. Furthermore, we helped to establish a medical billing apprenticeship with CU Medicine. I'd like to pause for just a moment here and note that our campus had no identifiable, tangible, or respectful procedure in place to address employment as it relates to the social determinants of health in the Aurora community prior to the Higher Local program. That said, I'd like to wrap up by highlighting a couple of individuals whose health and lives were transformed by our work. The first individual is a young man that grew up and who lives in Aurora in one of the neighborhoods just across the street from campus. The young man meets all the stereotypical qualifications of being an African American. He was raised on welfare in a single parent household. His neighborhood was full of drugs and gangs and crime. At times, he was racially profiled by police officers. Oh, and another one, he was also good at sports. There may be some truth to that one because he ended up earning a scholarship to play at the collegiate level, which was one of his dreams. But unfortunately, those dreams went unfulfilled because during his senior year of high school, he learned that his girlfriend was pregnant and that he would become a teenage father. So after high school, he went to work. In addition, he began taking classes as a first-generation college student as a social psychology major. And during his time in college, he got a job with the Arapahoe County Health and Human Services, where he worked in social work and employment for almost 10 years. But after a series of budget cuts and layoffs, he found himself out of a job. That's where we come in. He found out about an employment opportunity at the medical campus, and fortunately, he had some transferable skills that one of the human resources managers found to be valuable, and he was able to get hired at the university, actually with the School of Medicine. Since working on campus, his experience brought him through exposure to community research, which he loves, and ironically, the current job that he's working in is somewhat of an amalgamation of health and human services and participatory research. He now has 2 kids, and they've gone on to college, and he's been married to his high school sweetheart for over 20 years. Some of you may have actually worked with them at some time in family medicine. If you don't know by now, the person that I'm talking about is me. I'm an example of Hire Local before the program was officially created, and my life has been transformed. And that's why I'm passionate about helping others like the individuals that you see on the screen, Susanna Tuchimani, Karen Howard, and Anna Zhang. And by the way, Anna, who's pictured there in the middle, is an immigrant from China that we helped to get hired as a nursing assistant at UC Health. And she went on to graduate from the CU School of Nursing and is now, even in COVID, after the COVID thing, she's now a new grad RN on the campus. So I hope this gives you an understanding of how a simple thing like employment is not only transformative to the medical campus, but more importantly, how it transforms the health and lives of Aurora residents. So thanks for letting me share. Now I'd like to turn it over to Tessa Carlson to talk to you about the Learn Local program. Tessa?
Thank you so much for sharing, Jamil, and thank you everyone for being here. I'm Tessa Carlson, and I have served as the program coordinator for the CCP since 2017. Since the community identified education as being one of their top priorities, the Learn Local initiative was created. And this is what I have worked on closely with Mariana. The overall aim of Learn Local was to create a culture of engagement and learning activities between the Anschutz Medical Campus and the surrounding community. One of our biggest hopes with this initiative was to inspire young people from diverse backgrounds to go into the health sciences, which would ultimately diversify that workforce. The way that we did this work was through forming partnerships with CU students, staff, and faculty, and schools in the community, with a priority put on Aurora public schools and other schools serving students from backgrounds that are underrepresented in the health sciences. So some of our activities included recruiting and coordinating CU volunteers to participate in educational activities at the schools. So for example, nursing students have been teaching sexual health education at APS middle schools. A group of CU postdocs have been facilitating a program called Young Hands in Science at APS elementary schools. Students and faculty have given presentations at the schools on various health subjects. And CU volunteers have participated in lunch and learns and other career exploration events. These activities have supplemented and enhanced what the students were learning in their classrooms already. And many, if not all of them, would not have happened if it weren't for the connections made through the Learn Local initiative. So we also brought high school students onto campus for a full day of career exploration. They had the opportunity to hear from 4 different academic programs and then engage with a panel of students and young professionals where they could ask questions about applying to college, successes and challenges they had faced, why they chose the disciplines they did. And most importantly, they oftentimes got to see people who looked like them going into these fields. Another thing we did was host students from Aurora Public Schools through the executive internship programs, and we would also help place them in other areas on campus. During their time with us, we would make every effort to connect them with different professionals from around campus so that they could hear a variety of perspectives and ask career-related questions. They would also shadow us at community and campus meetings as it was appropriate. They did just a few administrative tasks around the office, and they would also contribute a written piece in our bi-monthly newsletter. So finally, we would connect CU students with service learning opportunities and community organizations so they could do volunteer work, and this also enhanced their learning experience. And in fact, just recently, we helped connect some medical students to opportunities in the local community in response to COVID. And one of the 4th-year students who participated in this told us, quote, "Having the chance to build partnerships with various community organizations has been so rewarding. And I think these experiences, engaging with the community in a time of hardship, will certainly shape our future careers." My time working on the Learn Local initiative has been tremendously impactful for me since day one. Not only did I get the chance to engage with so many bright, talented, and inspiring young people, I was privileged to see growth and transformation in them, particularly during campus visits and internships. We know that this type of engagement was meaningful, and I just want to share a couple anecdotes that help illustrate this. When we hosted students from Empower High School for career exploration on campus, they had the chance to visit the School of Dental Medicine's virtual reality suite where they practiced drilling on teeth. One of the dental student volunteers told a high schooler that she was a natural at drilling, and her teacher later reported to us that that experience sparked a newfound interest in dentistry for her, and she was talking about going into that field. And then our most recent intern, who was from Aurora West High School, she's going on to be a first-generation college student. She actually had an interest in architecture. However, she was curious about our community work, and so she was placed with us. Towards the end of her internship, I accompanied her on a trip to the downtown campus to visit the College of Architecture. And when we were done with our visit, she expressed to me that she was feeling much less anxious about going into college because she was able to picture herself in that learning environment. So through all of this, we have connected with over 1,300 young people, and hundreds of CU volunteers have engaged with their community. It's truly been an honor to get to work with these students and our campus partners, and I will always remember how it changed me. Thank you for listening, and I'm gonna pass it back to Mariana to talk about more of our work in the community.
Thank you, Tessa. Our community engagement efforts were equally as important, and probably the hardest part to understand about our work. It was through the power of relationships that we believe we had the biggest impact in this community. The work and community relations is something that the funders would use to question the return on investment. And yet, taking the time to build those relationships is what allowed us to be so successful at building meaningful partnerships with the community. Since its creation, the CCP took the time to create a coalition, as you can see, with equal representation from community and campus members. It took some time, but after a while, the members of the coalition began to see eye to eye. They actually began to find commonalities. They began to trust each other, and they started working together towards just one goal. They wanted to improve the socioeconomic well-being of North Aurora. We also provided a simple but innovative way for community members to come together and share information through the community networking breakfasts and dinners, which allowed the campus and community to come together and build bridges. The community was able to learn about the extensive resources that exist in the campus, and the campus was able to learn about how wonderful North Aurora really is. With financial support from the Denver Foundation, the CCP's community connector, Gabriela Jacobo, recruited a group of 10 dynamic individuals from very diverse backgrounds, all residents of North Aurora, the Resident Leadership Council, or as we call it, RLC for short. These residents are all leaders in their own neighborhoods and peer groups. They have extensive networks, and they are all well trusted and very respected. Gabriela began working with them to increase their capacity and leadership development, mobilizing and advocacy skills. This group actually grew to 25 steady members. As part of their own development, they had many community meetings with the Aurora Police Department, Community College of Aurora, and Aurora Public Schools, just to name a few. They would share the information learned at these community meetings with their networks, And the goal was to increase the neighbors' knowledge of the community as well. This work, among many other things, elevated the voices of parents at Aurora Public Schools who had not been heard before. An example of the many successes of the Resident Leadership Council is the Education Candidate Forum held with the participation of over 150 people, where translation services were offered in 5 different languages. Members of the RLC always had a seat at the table. They were part of our decision-making process. For some, it may be hard to understand the purpose of working with the RLC. It was not research-oriented. We never told them what to do, what projects to work on. It was them who actually guided us and provided input to our work. The goal was very simple: to elevate the leadership on the neighborhoods surrounding the campus. You may have heard that through the work of the RLC, a group of residents came together and actually started the process to create a Alba Catering co-op. This project has gotten the attention and support of City of Aurora, the Denver Foundation, and many departments at the university. A mentor once told me the definition of success in community engagement work is that when you leave that organization, the work continues and sustains. The work of the Resident Leadership Council is so fundamental to the community and to the CCP that despite the defunding of our program, the work will carry on. The RLC has decided to become their own 501c3, which is a huge undertaking. They will continue advocating for this community and its priorities, and continue the work of Alba Catering services. I'd like to take a moment to share a story, the story of Lourdes Lozano. Lourdes is a member of the Resident Leadership Council and is also a member of the Alba Catering Co-op. I was born in Matamoros, Coahuila. I grew up in a low-income family with 8 siblings, working in the fields until I was a teenager. I had to work in school in order to obtain scholarships and a higher education. I graduated as a registered nurse in Mexico. In 1999, Northern Mexico became an unsafe place to raise a family. My husband, 3 daughters, and I migrated to the United States. We arrived in Aurora, Colorado, where my youngest daughter was born. As my daughters attended elementary school, I began to learn how the educational system works in this country. I realized the possibilities of growth and became a leader, not only to my family, but also to my community in order to make a difference. I have been attending the leadership sessions that Gabriela Jacobo, community connector of the CCP, shares with us. I identify my strengths and put them into practice by talking to my neighbors and other parents. I invite them to important learning sessions. As a community leader, I am the eyes and ears of this community. One of my goals is to continue to learn about the priority concerns of my community, and along with my team of CCP resident leaders, continue to develop our work plan primarily in the areas of education. My hope is that more students will be better prepared and graduate ready to attend higher education institutions and get good paying jobs on campus. My dream is for me and my daughters to become part of the statistics of success in Aurora. We believe that's a very powerful statement that truly speaks to the hard work that Gabriela has been doing with this group of residents over the past few years. You may have seen the Chancellor's recent message titled, "Our Commitment to Action." Here are some highlights that we'd like to share. We should and we will expand on programs that already exist. We do what we do because we are called to serve humanity. We serve all, regardless of race or ethnic identity. We serve communities locally. In closing, the CCP, described by its name, was a true reciprocal partnership between the Aurora community and the Anschutz Medical Campus. We understand that tough funding decisions had to be made by the university, but that decision was made unilaterally. The dismantling of the CCP was done prematurely, not honoring the relationships that we have with the community, and frankly, in a very disrespectful way. The community campus partnership was the heart and soul of the campus. During this time of crisis, our community needs us more than ever. Rather than boycotting the CCP, which again provides the strongest ties between Anschutz and our community, we should be strengthening those ties. The Aurora community is dismayed by the fact that in such unprecedented times, like the ones we are living in right now, the most vulnerable people of this community are being cut off from a trusted partnership and at risk of being silenced yet again. Because among other things, that is what the CCP did. We provided a safe platform for the residents of this community to express their voice and to have a say, for them to build solutions and develop the programs that ultimately we implemented in partnership with them. We have received over 100 messages from our partners, both from the community and the campus, and they keep coming in daily. Here are some excerpts of some of those messages, and we invite you just to take a couple of seconds to read them and reflect on some of them. Okay, so now that you heard us call the campus out, we would like to call you in. This is our ask of you. Honor the value of relationships, respect each community member, and support local businesses. These are some specific ideas that we thought of you may want to consider. Engage with CU HR committee. This group looks at changing hiring practices to make them more inclusive. Host underserved students from Aurora for career exploration. Consider Alba Catering services for Department of Family Medicine meetings. Support and promote local restaurants. Website and communications as a way to share opportunities and stay engaged. I'd like to turn it over to Cleveland from the Justice League to talk about moving this forward.
And so in the chat, we just pasted something for everyone. The CCP has done incredible work over years, and it was a huge team interacting with lots of individuals. The community mission area and the diversity and health equity program will be working together, but it's going to really require all of you all to do this work. And so we have the QR code there, but we'll also be emailing out a link for you to fill out to see how you would like to potentially engage with us with moving this forward. This can't just be a DFM effort, it'll need to be beyond that. But I think this is our opportunity to really show who we are and what's really important to us. And with that, Don, I believe, had something he wanted to say as well.
Thanks, Cleveland. I'm just so moved by Mariana and what the entire team has presented. And we owe you all an enormous debt, and I want to honor that by doing what we can to continue this. From the standpoint of our community mission area, I sometimes joke that we're a missionary of one, but that's really not the case, because our mission area is intended to touch every other missionary in the department. Actually, everybody in the department is part of the community mission area, and I want you to let that sink in. Frank likes to say we're on a mission to help people be healthier. And I want to say that none of us are healthy unless all of us are healthy. And health is about much more than medical care. And I think this presentation has demonstrated that. And that means we have to be active in the community that surrounds us. I want to just end with a brief story from our retreat that we had for our community missionary with external stakeholders back at the end of February. We developed 3 priority areas of focus, but the most important priority area was to strengthen our focus on the neighborhoods surrounding campus. And I really took home the message that we can't be active in other areas of our state and other neighborhoods without investing and being willing to invest the same or more effort here in our own backyard. We have to take care of our own first. And I'm committed to do that. I hope all of you will join me in that commitment. And please fill out the survey so that we can pull these threads together and carry this work forward.
Thank you, Don. We have a few minutes left. We can take any questions or comments if any of you have any. Tessa, is there any comments or questions in the chat?
Not yet.
Okay.
I'd like to say thank you to you all for your work and for your impact. We've had a meeting already with School of Medicine with some of you, and are definitely committed to doing what we can on the Learn Local side to preserve relationships and be able to do some work going forward. I'm also going to be a part of another, Neil and I will be in conversation soon here about what else we can do. I'm making a commitment to you all to be able to continue in some capacity moving this work forward.
Thank you, Regina.
I'm also wishing you all the best. I'm wishing you the best because you've had impact and you will continue to do that. So thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else, you could jump on in. We're all family. We are DFM, family medicine.
I was curious if the CCP could provide any sort of advice. I oftentimes find that big universities, and not just ours, will have community programs that they can say is doing community sort of work. That's also something that they will talk about with sort of the new Aurora Commons. Any sort of words of wisdom you can say with sort of moving forward with that sort of work, but also not having us relegate this important work to, oh, the Aurora Commons will do this.
I invite and encourage the rest of the staff to chime in as well.
I would like to address that. Thank you, Cleveland. I think my advice, being a CU employee for over 20 years in many different programs, I have certainly witnessed again and again and again universities trying to fix neighborhoods, fix communities, fix people of low income or vulnerable status. And we've done the research to show that doesn't work. And whatever initiative is picked up or decided to commit to, I really strongly encourage you all to follow the successful strategy that the CCP applied in asking how we can be a better neighbor. What can we do to help? And then listening to the answer and responding to it. It's not rocket science, but there was a lot of resistance to doing that because that's not how universities usually play. So that's my bit of advice there. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Lisa.
Hi, everyone. Cheryl Harrington here. I also wanted to make another suggestion is to engage young people in the area. There are plenty of opportunities that you probably can find within your work or your department to maybe host an Aurora student. And it is really transforming, not just for them, but for you. So I would recommend it.
Yeah. Thanks for speaking to that real quickly, Cheryl. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Just really brief. Would also add, you know, based on what Lisa said, is to get to know who your neighbor is and the situation of the status of the community. If there are challenges, to learn best ways to be a partner, but not a guide. Let the community guide you. Knowing that you are around a community that does not have a good academic schools around you, and that there are a lot of challenges for our young ones. And then second of all, Mariana said it perfectly, honor them. Honor by respecting their streets, by respecting themselves, the community itself when you bump into them. And don't assume that you can go and parachute into a community because, you know, they are humble people, but always ask for permission. Always ask for permission for a research, for a study, and let them guide you. They are the experts.
I don't really have anything to add because my team has all said it so beautifully and perfectly. And I want to thank them all for the amazing job they did with the presentation. And also thank Frank and the Department of Family Medicine for being such a good home for the CCP over these years.
I just want to piggyback on something that Gabriella said, which was also really important for us to learn. A lot of times when we want to know something, we'll approach community and just start asking them a bunch of questions without really giving them any time to think about it. And it's a very unfair way of approaching them. Give them time to know what it is that you want from them, what kind of questions you're going to have, and then give them time to respond. And I mean, like, ahead of time. I can't tell you how many times I have made that mistake. And I have, wondered why I wasn't getting, all this deep and insightful information. And, Gabriella was really good to point out to us that, maybe we were weren't really being respectful. That's just not a respectful way to approach community. And I have, like I said, really have learned a lot from that approach.
And then report back. Always go back to them and share with them your results.
No other questions or comments from somebody else than the staff?
I would like to make a comment just that I have thoroughly enjoyed working with all of you on your team. You are the coolest, most down-to-earth folks And I've had a lot of fun in my interactions with you, even playing volleyball several years ago, coming to the Hoffman Library and doing yoga with Lizzie. Just interacting with you has been such a pleasure, and I'm honored to have been able to be part of what our department has contributed to your support.
I have something to say. What has happened to the CCP represents a fairly sharp break in a formal, organized partnership. And as painful as that is, and as hard as that is to digest, and as excruciating as it is to see Robert and Mariana and Gabriela and Cheryl and Lisa and Jamil and Tessa lose a position, we should commit ourselves to not let this end a partnership. We still owe, and we are still beholden to the community that surrounds our campus and the place where we work. We still must be partners. And there are still programs. I know Gabriela is running a program that is not going to end. And we need to make sure that just because the masthead disappears, that our hearts for this community don't likewise disappear. We need to find ways, new, creative, different, better, more enduring ways to maintain our partnership with our neighbors and to ourselves become and be better neighbors. We need to do this.
And I'd just like to say, I am honored to have worked in the department prior to working with the CCP, because I think the department is fertile ground for growth. And that's the way I arrived, by the support of the researchers like Bonnie, Perry, everyone in the department was always supportive of growing. David was instrumental in, strategically, through strength finders, of course, recognizing, talents and strengths in areas where those can be utilized and flourish. And so that's, when I say transformative, it didn't just start with the CCP. It also started at home in family medicine. And so, like Robert said, it's been such a wonderful home. It's not just a house. It's been a true home for us. So thank you for that.
So I think we're 1 minute before the hour. Mariana et al., thank you so much for this informative and inspiring presentation. We'll leave the meeting now. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Pray for us.
Thank you.
Great job.